Meus amigos, faltam 5 dias para o lançamento de Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection e alguns felizardos tiveram a oportunidade de receber esse jogo em acesso antecipado e já puderam também, né, com permissão ali da Digital Eclipse, obviamente, publicar um pouco sobre essa coletânea, demonstrando ali pra gente os menus, alguns gameplays, treino de Fatalities, o treino normal, e eu tô diretamente aqui no canal do PND, Ketchup e Mostarda, que são caras muito famosos aí na comunidade de Mortal Kombat, que vira e mexe estão fazendo transmissões de campeonatos, narrando e tudo mais. E é justamente esse vídeo do canal dele que nós vamos conferir juntos agora. Saudações dele, sou Caio Nobre, simbora para mais um conteúdo aqui no canal. Se você curte os nossos vídeos, já deixa aí seu likezão, se inscreve e ativa o sininho das notificações para não perder absolutamente nada dos conteúdos que fazemos por aqui, sejam eles vídeos, lives ou shorts. E claro, acessem o canal PND, Ketchup e Mostarda para poder dar uma moral aqui no conteúdo que eles fizeram também, pois eles sempre trazem novidades fresquinhas acerca desse mundo de Mortal Kombat, né? Vamos lá então, meus amigos, sem mais delongas, eu deixei a legenda ativada aqui porque o Ketchup explica muitas coisas que ele tá mostrando para nós. Vamos lá!
Hello, hello, hello everybody, this is Ketchup and today is a special day. The Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection does indeed come out very, very soon, and I've been fortunate enough to be granted a early access version that allows me to show you a little bit of what's in store. I have messed around with this a fair amount, and as this is early access, I will not be showing an absolute ton. Just a few tidbits, a little bit of the game's features.
Algumas coisinhas que eles permitiram mostrar, obviamente, tal.
I want to give a massive thank you to both Atari and Digital Eclipse for this, and if you want to save yourself for when this game comes out, by all means, do not watch this video. However, to celebrate the fact that this game is nearly here, I want to show you some features, a little bit of gameplay,
recursos, gameplay,
some of the cool stuff that I've noticed already.
Boa.
The first thing I want to show off is Ultimate MK3 WAVENET, but only a small portion. The entire goal of this is not to show everything immediately before other people can access it. I just want to give you a basic idea.
A versão underground aí, ó, WAVENET.
A little bit of Noob Saibot.
Noob Saibot.
The audio for this video might be a little bit all over the place because the games do have like somewhat different audio to the menus and everything else, so please bear with me there. But before I pick Noob Saibot, let's have a look at some of these features. You've got your control options, you've got a adjustment for both finishing moves,
violência, sangue, round timer ilimitado, timer de fatality também ilimitado.
That allow you to pick certain characters without having to manually do it yourself.
Ah, boa. Tem atalhos pra gente poder pegar uns personagens ali sem precisar selecionar. Igual, play as Noob Saibot, player 1. Boa.
I will be using the Noob Saibot shortcut, hovering over Kano and just picking the character normally. It makes life a lot easier for people that don't want to constantly do the button inputs to pick the character that they want. Now, I will only be showing off Noob Saibot here, and by the way...
Cansou de jogar seu dinheiro fora?
Bora lá, anúncios.
Including Noob Saibot's Dolphin, which is really cool. And again, you'll notice that the game audio is slightly lower than the menu music, so hopefully that should still be perfectly fine for the game itself. With the shortcut, we will play as Noob Saibot immediately.
Boa.
To hold anything. I just picked Kano, and the game will take care of the...
Ó, os golpes aparecendo do lado, ó. Do Scorpion tá aqui também. Onde tá minha câmera, ó.
Already enabled because it does make life a lot easier.
Olha lá.
And although there is no training mode for WAVENET, I do still have the unlimited timers, and because there is a instant rematch option, it will make things quicker anyway. So you can still somewhat lab characters.
Ó, ele disse aqui no inicinho que não tem o training mode pra versão WAVENET.
Test things out, even if whatever version of the game you're playing doesn't have a dedicated training mode. A lot of the games do, however. So the only move that Noob Saibot has is
Peraí, deixa eu só ver.
A lot of the games, even if whatever version quicker anyway. So you can still somewhat lab characters and test things out, even if whatever version of the game you're playing doesn't have a dedicated training mode. A lot of the games do, however.
Muitos dos jogos têm modo de treinamento dedicado. Beleza.
He cannot perform this in the air, and it's very much like his kind of trilogy version and everything else, where he's got to be on the ground to execute it. Now, similar to those versions, he can get combos from this. I'll talk about these combos a little bit later. However, for now, Noob Saibot does still have decent damage when he lands a teleport. Apologies for my voice, by the way. I've done a lot of traveling over the last month or so, and feeling a little bit under the weather, as now we're entering winter territory in the UK. It's getting a bit cold and wet. Now, that's just one thing, is his teleport slam. I don't think that's too surprising that he only has one special move, to be honest with you. I think we have to remember that Noob Saibot very much is still a secret character, even if it's the WAVENET version. So him having the one move doesn't surprise me a huge amount. But what did surprise me was his forward walk speed. Noob Saibot kind of keeps his ridiculous walk speed that I think the
Eles mantiveram exatamente como era, né?
Excuse me. Just had to cough there for a minute, but thanks to the editing, you didn't have to hear it. So, Noob Saibot, the walk speed is so strong and it allows certain combos to be much easier, mostly after juggles. So, things like walk forward, a lot more jabs and juggles than a lot of other characters will have access to, mostly because Noob just moves so bloody fast forward that he's able to do things that other characters can't in that respect. I want to go over his dialer combos though. The first one is a simple 5-hit, high punch, high kick, low kick, back high kick. 5 hits, 26% damage, not too shabby. He has a kick string as well, high kick, low kick, back high kick. A very simple kick string that quite a few characters often have in this kind of game. Not surprised that Noob Saibot has it as well. By the way, speaking of that instant rematch, we're straight back in.
Boa.
Straight back into another match. So
a telinha de rematch ali, ó. Você pode dar rematch aqui, selecionar um novo combatente, selecionar um novo estágio ou sair do jogo, né, para poder selecionar um outro. Bacana.
Rematch, we're straight back in. Straight back into another match. So in the offline space, I think this is going to be really, really handy if people aren't constantly changing characters, which could happen in old Mortal Kombat. A lot of people like to do that. So there's some of his kick strings. A big string that you would have noticed a second ago is that he does actually have a launcher. High punch, low punch. A really simple 3-hit.
Aí ele consegue andar pra frente e continuar combando, né?
Take into the sky, do whatever kind of juggles you want to go for, whatever.
Cê é louco.
So all of that works out quite nicely for him. He has a 4-hit launch as well, which is high punch, down low punch, down high punch. It's the exact same launch, but it has an extra hit in there. Now, although there is an extra hit attached to this, when we're talking about Noob Saibot's combos, I feel like it actually might end up being more optimal to just do the 3-hit for reasons I'm just about to demonstrate. Now, I don't want to go too in detail here because I do want people to explore this character themselves, but as he is a human ninja, he's got the jabs, the low punch, the sweep, the roundhouse, the uppercut, all of these buttons that all of the other ninjas are known for. He is obviously going to have those as well, but with the added utility of that extra fast walk speed that they don't have for the most part.
Sim.
When we're talking about doing combos with Teleport Slam, it seems to be all about hit limit. As in, too many hits in a combo, his Teleport Slam will no longer connect. So knowing how many hits you are limited to helps you go for extra juggles. For example, if you open up with a teleport, jab, teleport, that's as many as we can go for until the game will no longer let you do any more teleports. And we can work that into our combo game as well. For example, should you go for the 4-hit juggle and then teleport afterwards, we will be unable to go for another teleport and hold the combo as is, which still does decent damage, but you can get more damage if you purposefully go for a launch with 1 hit less. For example, and this will be the last thing I show for the Noob Saibot because I want people to explore it themselves. Go for a 3-hit launch, teleport. Shout out to Dan Forden. Enjoy your retirement, my friend. You've earned it.
Caramba, 45% de dano.
You will notice there that by going for the teleport after the 3-hit juggle, I was actually able to get another teleport, which I wouldn't be able to do if the game, if I'd gone for the 4-hit instead. So there's a few different possibilities for Noob Saibot here. I'm not able to play any PvP matches because this is the offline mode and I am here on my lonesome. However, as a basic introduction to Noob Saibot, no finishing moves, 1 special move, but definitely a game plan that can still work out, mostly built around the teleport because it's the only move that he's got. Excited to play him in actual PvP matches, for sure, but like
isso vai ser interessante de ver, mano. Usar o personagem em PvP assim na WAVENET.
Just uncover everything before people have the game themselves.
Boa.
So, early look at Noob, let's move on to some other features.
Legal.
So, the next thing I want to demonstrate is the game's built-in training mode. So, certain games...
Ó, modo de treinamento.
And as you can see...
Os menus aqui, ó, pro Mortal Kombat Trilogy, no caso que ele tá selecionado, para poder jogar, versus Training, Fatality Training, os controles, manual de instruções e settings do jogo, ó. Legal.
Fatality Training as well. So...
Ó, Fatality Training, a gente tem aqui Player 1, Player 2, tempo ilimitado para poder fazer Fatality, a distância dos Fatalities, ó, que eles mostram um overlayzinho, aquela imagem que a gente viu inclusive lá no X, que a Digital Eclipse publicou pra gente, com aquele quadradinho verde, é justamente esse Fatality Distance aqui, pra gente poder entender a distância que vai ser efetuada esse Fatality, que a gente precisa estar para poder fazer os comandos ali. A gente tem a opção de Fatality de um botão para poder ativar e utilizar também. E os inputs que vão aparecer aqui embaixo na tela, ó, vocês vão ver.
Following the Fatality Trainer, unlimited time, Fatality Distance on, which means you need to have the correct distance. One button Fatality, which you can enable, which was actually a part of the cheat menu back in the day. And display input, all the regular stuff. So we're gonna just pick a stage, let's go random select, let's go fight.
Os fatalities, boa.
Lost. Let's do a fatality that you probably haven't seen much. Let's pick Noob Saibot, but this time let's do the trilogy version. So the fatality trainer, very, very basic stuff. And as you can see, all the filters and everything else, I'm keeping it on for this portion, just so you can see what they look like. But...
Caramba, mano, olha lá, ó, todos os finalizadores do Noob aqui do lado esquerdo, ó. Fatality 1, 2, Animality, Babality, Friendship, Brutality, e pra gente poder trocar o display dos Fatalities, ó. Porque ali, reparem que no Fatality 1, ele tá com o escrito azulzinho, né? Então esse quadradinho verde da distância que tá sendo mostrado aqui na tela agora pra gente, ó, é desse Fatality 1 que tá selecionado. Então quando a gente clica o LS aqui, ó, pra poder fazer esse switch do display, ele vai trocar por debaixo o Fatality 2 e aí ele vai alterar essa questão aqui da distância. E assim vai. Muito legal, mano. Olha lá, ó. Essa ali é a distância. Boa. Doideira, mano. Muito doideira.
Now let's see what else we're gonna do. I'm gonna try all of the fatalities. I've actually not used the fatality trainer before.
Ah, eu vou querer treinar todos os fatalities também, principalmente alguns que eu não conseguia fazer tão bem na época. Tome.
It's definitely intuitive with showing you the ranges and everything else.
Nossa, muito bom, cara. Distância.
Games tend to do, but the instant, you know, instant rematch and everything else, really like that. Let's try Animality.
Ó, Animality, boa.
Antita.
Pra você ver, cara, poder fazer os Animalities sem ficar mandando Mercy, esses trecos, cara. Ó pra você ver, beleza. Poder ver tudo assim, tranquilamente.
Friendship.
Friendship, ele é full screen, né? Tela inteira.
Didn't even get a strike. Rubbish. Rubbish. Now, what I have been able to play a fair amount of already is the built-in training mode for certain games. For the
Aí, ó, modo de treinamento para alguns jogos. Ele pode experimentar já. Ó, a gente tem ali, ó, para poder jogar com o Chameleon, tá desligado. O agressor tá ativado, a gente pode desligar ele também se a gente quiser. E os controles do Player 1 e Player 2. Esses controles, será que a gente pode modificar também? A gente pode selecionar o estágio e resetar as configurações por padrão. Beleza.
Trying out some of the newer characters and those that aren't in Ultimate MK3, you're probably going to want to, you know, practice the Rain Roundhouse Infinite and stuff like that, and this is very much how you do it, right? You got the options for controls, you can turn off or on the aggressor, you can have the aggressor shortcut, so you don't have to hold a bunch of different buttons on any of the male ninjas. We're going to pick just Rain here. I imagine what quite a few people might try and do is, a lot of people know about Rain's Infinite, but it's always been a bit tricky to practice because, you know, getting access to the Rain isn't exactly the easiest thing back in the day. Whereas training mode on first glance is very, very simple. Infinite time, infinite health. If you want to practice anything with Rain here, you can do so. Now, I haven't played Rain in a hot minute, so, you know, I ain't demonstrating nothing right now, I promise you.
Pô, cara, esse modo de treino é muito legal, velho. Dá pra gente treinar uma pá de coisa.
So this is something you can easily just refer to and then do pretty much whatever it is you want to do. You know, do you want to go for 1,000,000 mind control orbs? Well, that's...
Logo ele vai mostrar também as opções que tem dentro do modo treino pra gente poder modificar.
Again, that's completely up to you as well. The main reason I wanted to show off the training mode isn't for this. This, you know, this is what it is. It's self-explanatory. What really interests me here
Vamos lá, ó.
Is training options. It's not just a form of practicing combos. There's
Cara, olha aí, ó. As opções de treinamento que a gente tem aqui, ó. A ação, que é ficar em pé. Ação, quando a gente causar o dano no personagem, ele continua em pé. Display inputs, que é os comandos que aparecem aqui embaixo. O HP, né? A vida, no caso aqui, do player 1 e do player 2, que tá infinito. Corrida infinita, a gente tem como colocar também. E tem como ajustar latência, cara, conforme ali a gente for jogando no online e a gente sentir que essa latência tá um pouco mais alta do que normalmente fica aqui no modo treino, que é zerado, né? A gente pode ajustar também para poder se acostumar, caso estejamos pegando aí muitas partidas com a latência mais alta. E o oponente aqui ele fica parado, tem como colocar IA também, para ele enfrentar a gente no modo treino sem parar, né? Legal demais isso aqui, cara.
quite a few things you can do. Input latency to simulate network delay.
Aí, ó.
That's something that's been in, many games for quite a while. You can toggle things if you want. Health refill delay if you want to have a bigger look at how much damage your combos are doing. The really, really big ones for me on a first glance is action and action when damaged. You can set your opponent to do all kinds of things. You can make
Replay loop, ó, recorde, ó, para poder gravar.
Computer, you can do human training mode, which is going to be really good, I think, for just teaching people.
Modozinho de treino bem legal, cara. Ainda mais pra um jogo antigo que não tem modo treino assim, ó.
Is where things get really interesting. If you want to practice certain things,
crouch, stand,
do it.
Jump, block.
If you want to practice like an anti-air, you can make them jump, for example.
Aí, ó.
He'll immediately start jumping.
Colocou o boneco pra poder pular, ó, pra treinar antiaéreo.
If you want to learn the meta of something like Trilogy or Ultimate MK3, this is what I think is really interesting that they've put in. You can go block, that's fine. You can just set them to block in any situation. Let's just set them to block normally, right? If I try and throw,
Bloquear tudo.
my throw is going to come out. That's always been a bit tricky for practicing things like run jabs, because if they're point blank, you can't really practice run jabs because you'll just throw them. That's always been a constant issue for a lot of people trying to practice the meta of the game. However, if I go into training options, block and hold back. Now, you're probably wondering, why is that an option? That's really weird. Crouch, block, and hold back? Why would I do that? If you're holding back in these games, you cannot be thrown. This is a really, really useful tool for anyone that wants to learn the rushdown meta. Run jabs, run jabs, run jabs, close range strings to kind of, try and crush those low poke interruptions, whatever else. The training mode essentially giving you the means to practice the rushdown of the game and other situations too.
Que doideira, mano.
This is something that, frankly, I didn't expect to be in this game, and I'm really, really glad that it is, because if you're trying to teach anyone how to run jab, this is how you do it. This is how you teach someone how to rush down. It's all in the training menu, it's all good to go, and overall, I think this should give you a really good starting point if you want to learn how to play a lot of these games properly.
Nossa, muito bacana, viu?
In the collection, I'm going to try and do this first level without dying, and I'm going to promptly skip if I do manage to die, which is extremely likely. There we go. I was about to say, when's that going to go? Oh! The final thing I want to show in this early access video are some of the things that the team were able to do to Mortal Kombat 4. Now, even being able to get Mortal Kombat 4 arcade running digitally has always been something that, anyone that has played Mortal Kombat 4 or has been part of the scene, you've always kind of heard and talked about that getting it digitally just hasn't really been viable. It's never really worked.
Choose your destiny.
Never quite right. It's never quite played right. We are currently looking at arcade Mortal Kombat 4, digitally for, I would say, the first time properly. So that on its first level is something that I think a lot of people were excited about, because so many of us were kind of forced to play the console versions, which, to give them their credit, really, really good versions, don't get me wrong.
Sim.
But the true arcade experience at home was kind of something that was never possible. It looks fine, right? It looks like Mortal Kombat 4. What interested a lot of us when they mentioned it is that if you go to additional
A opção gráfica. Olha lá, o render scale.
change the rendering scale to make the game.
Cara, olha a diferença,
I'm
velho.
going to set it to 4 times, go right back into the game, and now
Irmão, olha a diferença, velho.
it's a lot more crisp. Everything just looks a lot smoother. I never thought we'd see this with the arcade version. It doesn't have that same level of, I suppose, blurriness and everything else, which from a visual standpoint, I really think is going to make this game just a lot more pleasant to play, to be honest with you. So,
não, sem dúvida, pô.
When I play MK4, I think I'm always going to have it set to this mode. It looks way more...
Bem mais bonito, bem mais nítido. Tudo rodando mais fluido.
You know, you'll know that game was, yeah, it wasn't the greatest game in the world, but visually looked a lot better than console MK4. And it kind of seems like from an arcade standpoint, we now have pretty much the same visual experience, but in this collection. So I just wanted to show this as a last-minute bonus. I'm very happy to see it in there. And overall, I think it's a really cool feature. Oh my god, and he fatalities as well. Come on. Show us. Show us the crispness. But overall, there's obviously a lot in this collection. There's a lot to go over, and it's not stuff I'm going to go over right now. This is an early access preview video, and I do not want to show the entire bag of things to people because, you know, I want you to be able to play it yourself and experience it and have a good time. So, thank you all so much for watching if you did stick around.
Cara, muito legal, velho. Ele teve acesso, né, a uma versão antecipada, como ele explicou aqui pra gente, então ele trouxe aqui justamente alguns conteúdos pra gente poder entender como é que tá funcionando os recursos dessa collection, como é que tá o gameplay de alguns jogos aqui e tal, né, essa questão do treinamento também. O Mortal Kombat 4 ali, ele mostrou aquela questão da renderização de escala que nós já tínhamos inclusive comentado num outro vídeo aqui do canal. Então assim, muito legal esses recursos que ele pôde mostrar pra gente até o presente momento. Eu acredito que ele poderia até mostrar um pouco mais, mas como ele disse ali, ele tá querendo deixar pra galera mesmo experimentar ali, quando chegar o lançamento aí da coletânea, que faltam 5 dias, né? E eu tô muito curioso, cara, poder ver mais desses recursos aqui em outros jogos, né? Ele mostrou um pouquinho pra gente do WAVENET, mostrou um pouquinho do Trilogy, Mortal Kombat 4 ali. Acabou não mostrando o Rewind que a gente tem no Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. Isso é uma coisa que eu vou querer muito, sim, experimentar, né? E é isso, galera. Espero que vocês tenham curtido esse videozinho do catch-up, né? A gente fazendo esse react aqui e comentando um pouquinho acerca do que ele mostrou pra gente até agora. Deixa aqui embaixo o que vocês acharam também, se vocês curtiram o que foi demonstrado aqui, se deixou vocês mais empolgados poder pegar essa coletânea e tal. Eu vou trazer os comentários de todos e novamente não se esqueçam do likezão, se inscrever no canal e ativar o sininho para notificação dos próximos vídeos. Eu vou ficando por aqui, um beijão pra todos vocês aí, até mais e fuemos, meus amigos.